morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So, tourism is critical to the region's economic diversification strategies. A lot is being spent and invested in hospitality and entertainment. We are going to talk about opportunities, where to find these opportunities, and talk about the regional tourism initiatives and what is going to ensure strong returns in this industry. And I will start with you, Your Excellency. What is Bahrain doing? What are they prioritizing in the sense of tourism and opportunities?
Thank you, Maya, and it's great to be with all of you here in Gateway Gulf, the second edition of Gateway Gulf. And you posed an excellent question, Maya. I believe that the Kingdom of Bahrain early on realized the importance of tourism in diversifying the economy. And that is one of the main reasons why the tourism strategy 2022-2026 is actually part of the Kingdom's economic recovery plan. And having said that, when we created the tourism strategy, we focused on four main verticals that we call the 4As. We focused on accommodation, we focused on attractions, we focused on accessibility, and we focused on awareness. And when we speak about the four verticals, when we speak about the 4As, predominantly what we're doing is enhancing the tourism infrastructure in the Kingdom of Bahrain. So when we talk about accessibility, one of the biggest and major projects that we worked on is enhancing our international airport. And when we talk about awareness, we mention or we work towards creating regional and international campaigns to position Bahrain as a tourism destination. When we talk about accommodation, which is a huge part of attracting tourists to the Kingdom of Bahrain, you're talking about making sure that you have the right tourism products in place to make sure that you're attracting your target markets within your tourism strategy. And one of the key things that have happened or are going to happen between 2024 and 2026 is a significant increase in the number of hotel rooms in Bahrain. We're talking about around 3,000 hotel rooms. And I believe that one of the main projects was actually announced yesterday during the first day of Gateway Gulf through Idama, the real estate arm of Mumtalakat, which is a project that we're very excited about, which is the Hawar Island operated by Mantis Resort. And predominantly what we're saying is by that increase, you're creating more supply and you're meeting the demands of tourists as well. But when we talk about attractions, which is a very important point, we focused on what we are doing well and how we can capitalize on it. And by that, beginning or the end of 2022, we created Exhibition World Bahrain, which has positioned the Kingdom of Bahrain as a MICE hub in the region, as well as creating also different venues to host different international and live events, such as Eldana Amphitheater, that hosts events all year round. So when you look at the 4As, you realize that when the UN Tourism announced very recently in September that Bahrain was one of the top 5 countries in the world to attract international tourists, compared to you're comparing the first half of 2024 to the first half of 2019, which was a great year for tourism in Bahrain. That increase was about 45%. And that's just a testament on how well Bahrain is doing with not only working towards realizing its investment strategy tourism goals, but also with working very closely with the private sector to meet their KPIs.
So initially, we're going to identify opportunities before we take it to the next level, but there are a lot of also different verticals that Bahrain is looking at. It's not only when it comes to culture and arts, there's also sports tourism. We're going to get to that as well. But let me ask you, Osama, from an investment perspective, how do you identify opportunities in tourism in the region, in the whole GCC region?
Well, let me start with this. GCC is part of the word. So from an investment perspective, we look at the indicators of wherever we're going to invest. So if we're going to specifically talk about the tourism, there are many positive indicators that has been happening, especially post-pandemic. So in 2024, the total international travelers reached 1.5 billion, which is a record high. And it's expected to reach 1.8 billion by 2030. If you look at the average daily rates and the occupancy over the past 12 to 24 months has been increasing. So all of this is good indicators, right? Now, there is also a new trend that came out post-pandemic, which is, I mean, a new vocabulary came to the industry called be-leisure, which is mixing business with the leisure. So people tend today to travel for business, but they bring families or friends with them. So from that aspect, I mean, as a general word, I mean, investing in the tourism sector is lucrative from a financial perspective. Now, we zoom in a little bit more into GCC, is we need to follow the trend, right? Don't go against the trend. So today there is a trend, a clear trend in the market. There is a need from the global traveler, which is more into eco resorts, but with urban amenities. Okay, guest experience is a focus. So if you offer that, then I mean, irrespective of what specific investment you're doing, I mean, then you have a good opportunity.
That's a good opportunity as an investment, as an investor, also as a financial institute.
Yes.
Hisham. As a financial institute, do you see the same opportunities? How can you make money from these opportunities? At the end of the day, Osama speaks also from a bit of a public eye. Her Excellency is the government, but you come from the private sector. You need to make money. Where are the opportunities for you?
Yeah, so I want to say when you're looking at investment in tourism and promoting destinations, I see two types are there. One, where there is a given demand that you want to build a component around it, something like building a nice boutique hotel in, for example, Souk Manama or in 338 Adliya, where you are sure you will make the return required, but this will have a moderate economic impact. But to build something with size and higher impact, you need aspiring vision, a leading, to lead the market and create destination. This we have seen it throughout the region. In Bahrain, we have seen it with the creation of F1 track, of Bahrain Bay, this beautiful project, and Bahrain Financial Harbor. And this starts with master plan. And invitation of a lot of sub-developers, then layers of investors. And those investors, they can invest into equity, into financing, preferred return. There are multiple packages. And each project has its own distinction. The important here is managing the life cycle of those investors and ensuring the target is achieved. They see it as an opportunity, and then you need to realize the opportunity with a lot of government support in terms of regulations, preferred returns, security, and then once they achieve that, it repeats. Once it repeats, it creates the perpetual economic impact. This we have seen it successfully in Dubai. We are seeing it in Bahrain, and then for people like us, we can work throughout all those layers. We can be a financier, we can be an investor, and multiple investment packages we love to work with. When Financial Harbor has been created, government of Bahrain, they gave a lot of support and for it to be done. Same thing in Bahrain Bay. Dubai is doing the same. Saudi Arabia now is doing the same and opening packages for all over the world, and you see all those people coming in. Yeah.
We'll talk also about the cross-border tourism, but let's get the collector's point of view, Edward. Before we came on stage, you said that you looked at the scape in the area, you looked at the different cultural offerings, and in these different cultural offerings, looking at the GCC countries, where do you look at the opportunities? Where do you see there are opportunities?
Thank you to Gateway Gulf, and thank you to the Kingdom of Bahrain for the incredible hospitality of the last couple of days. It's a great privilege to be here. No, I mean, the governments of the GCC have literally spent billions of dollars developing museums and cultural institutions for many reasons. But one of the principal reasons is to drive tourism, and I think it's for the community of private investors in these regions to really look at the opportunities that cultural tourism creates. A great deal of work has been done by Bain & Co., Boston Consulting Group, McKinsey, analyzing the economic impact of cultural tourism, which is absolutely staggering. If you just look at New York City, Paris, London, the economic impact is huge. Cultural tourism, cultural tourists tend to stay longer when they visit. They tend to spend more money when they visit. And the opportunities around the visit of a cultural tourist to sell hospitality, educational trips, adventures, etc., are huge. And I'm particularly excited by the opportunity that has been created actually now by Saudi Arabia and the huge investment that's going on there in terms of cultural initiatives, that the whole region is actually becoming alive with projects that are going to attract cultural tourists from all over the globe.
Edward, when you visit the region, what are you looking for from a cultural perspective, or from a tourism perspective? What do you want to see?
Well, I think that it's an important question, and it's one that I think a lot of the various governments in the GCC have been struggling themselves to identify, because whether or not it's to plug into the international art scene and provide exciting opportunities for global contemporary art fanatics, which drives a lot of cultural tourism, or whether to focus on culture and heritage, because that's the other incredibly important component, that when people visit from another country, they want to see the authentic, the character, the DNA of the place and the people that they're visiting. And I think the truth is you need to focus on both areas. And one of the things that I think is very interesting is I arrived here, I flew to Abu Dhabi, then Riyadh, then Qatar, and now here. A huge amount of development is happening in these regions. Obviously, there's the Abu Dhabi Louvre, the Guggenheim, the Museum of Islamic Art in Qatar, the National Museum, etc. There are actually not many overlaps. They're not repeating things. Each government is creating quite a distinct offering, which I think opens up for the GCC the possibility of joining together to create, what I called earlier, a grand tour of the region that people will visit and move from center to center to center over the course of 10 days to see this incredible offering of museums and other galleries and exhibitions that are taking place here now.
Your Excellency, when we talk about that, I'd like your comment on this. When we say focusing on heritage and culture as opposed to the contemporary and the new, how could you balance? How do you prepare an offering that is more balanced and more attractive for all your visitors, or maybe divided visitors? So at one point you want to attract this one and you want to attract the other one.
Maya, it's an interesting question. I also want to build on the conversation that just happened. when you look at Bahrain and when you look at it within the GCC countries, right? You know that we all share a similar culture, but every country has a unique value proposition. I believe that was what was mentioned just now in the conversation. And it's very important to focus on the culture when it comes to diversifying your tourism projects or products. But what is also equally important is how you can develop that culture into what is currently being demanded by the different, international markets and different regional and international tourists. And, I always say, when we're in panels, especially as specifically as ministers of tourism, we always get asked, so what can you do to retain or to have repeat visitors? And we've seen a trend in the Kingdom of Bahrain that it only takes a tourist to come and visit Bahrain once for them to become a repeat tourist.
Because there's a special energy here. We were talking
Absolutely.
about that.
And I'm sure that the audience flying into Bahrain for Gateway Gulf have actually felt that. So the real question is not how to have repeat tourists. The real question is how to get them to Bahrain once.
Okay.
And what we've seen is that when we worked closely with our GCC counterparts is when we retained the tourist for a longer length of stay. And I'd like to build on a conversation that happened by His Excellency Sheikh Salman bin Khalifa Al Khalifa, the Minister of Finance and National Economy yesterday, where he mentioned that any investment that is happening near you will have a positive impact. And it trickles down also, obviously, to tourism. When you get a visitor in Riyadh, when you get a visitor in Dubai, that is also an opportunity for the Kingdom of Bahrain to have that visitor actually do a tour around the GCC. And between the ministers of tourism in the Gulf, we always have discussions on how we can attract more tourists. And you keep on hearing tourists mentioning that we are going to Scandinavia, we're going to Asia, we're going to Europe. We are not there yet when it comes to tourists mentioning that we're going to the Gulf. You hear tourists saying we're going to Bahrain, we're going to Dubai, but not collectively saying that we're going to the Gulf. And I believe as ministers of tourism, that's a huge measure of our success, and that's actually one of our KPIs. When we reach to the point where tourists mention that we're going to the Gulf, that's when we have achieved success when it comes to our tourism portfolios.
From this point, I'm going to go back to you, Osama, with achieving this, visiting different cities, different countries in the region in one go. When you are a tourism, you are a tourist to the Gulf region. Yeah. How could you achieve that from your perspective, from how you see it from here to the next 10 years?
Again, you need to follow the trend, and the trend today is guest experience. Her Excellency, she mentioned a key word, like, it takes one traveler to come to Bahrain and then he's a regular tourist to Bahrain. Why? Because he got a good experience in Bahrain. I mean, otherwise they will never come back, right? So guest experience is a key focus going forward for the tourism and to attract them. Now, there are many aspects of guest experience. It can be culture, it can be, of course, service, etc., logistics, etc., etc., etc. The second aspect is today there is a global awareness about sustainability, right? So today, even when we start seeing when travelers are going and traveling, they prefer to pick hotels that they are sustainable. Okay, so. That is becoming a more important element. I mean, at the end, we are in the business of attracting more tourists, right? So,
are you saying that the sustainable industry is taking a front line, or you have offering for everyone, those who want sustainability and those who are looking for something else?
Yeah, of course. I mean, but again, sustainability is it's becoming a preference of travelers, and when they pick an accommodation, a hotel, or rather, they tend to prefer that hotels that they're labeled sustainable, right? So it's again guest experience, follow the trend, and this is, and make sure that when a tourist is at your land, okay, first his schedule is quite busy, and it was mentioned that cultural travelers, I would like to take this off Rand, they tend to stay more,
Okay.
which is something new for me, honestly. Okay, so you need to make sure that they can stay longer, okay, in your land, and they have a good experience, and they are repetitive travelers, right? Twice, 3 times a year that they can come and visit. Yeah, it's not a one-time visit.
But when you say twice, 3 times a year, you have to keep the weather in mind also.
I mean, look, weather is not a challenge anymore. I mean, let's look at UAE. I mean, for example, the hotels in UAE, in the summer they have the highest occupancy, right? I mean, it's so weather is not a challenge anymore.
Okay, we'll keep that positive note. We'll go to Hisham and ask him about the collaboration between GCC countries. How do you think that can create integrated tourism experiences and also move on from there?
Yeah, I would like to comment on
the weather.
Excellency
Okay.
and the weather.
Yeah.
You know, on the weather, some of our friends from Egypt, I say, where do you spend your summer? I say, we spend it in Bahrain. I say, during the summer? How is that? They say, yeah, because shopping malls and the weather is nice and it's in the car. Otherwise, here in Egypt, it's the other way around. So weather is not that bad because we have different experience, I think,
Yes.
that we are offering in the Gulf. It's air conditioned, it's nice, cars, luxury cars, nice lifestyle. But I go back to the comment, I think for the GCC, I would like to use they call it in telecom bundling. I think the Gulf need to be bundled as a destination. You know, 20 years back, when Emirates Airlines, they started with Emirates Holidays, you know, they have those nice box where they explain the destination. They used to bundle Europe and Asia. So you go like 9 or 7 days from one city to another. And this promoted a lot of destinations. I think organizing the calendar of the Gulf in terms of events, festivals, destinations, and a mix of culture, sports, and shopping, I think will be great promoter for the Gulf. This, of course, need to be supported by unifying the visa system, like Schengen. This is why Europe is a great destination, because you take your car from Italy, travel through Europe. You need that experience to be repeated. Of course, if you have a train system, this is going to accelerate the...
That's coming soon.
Yeah, all of them, I think, coming soon. But I mean, I wanted to emphasize that. Also, I would like to jump into creating alternatives for tourism. There is the typical tourism, and there is, I think, the what we are trying also to focus on is what we call the medical tourism.
Okay.
Yeah, so medical tourism, I think Abu Dhabi with Cleveland Clinic is doing great there, but not to that extent in terms of, but so in Raffles, inshallah next month after if we get all approvals, we are launching our the destination as medical detoxing retreat, where you go, you spend a week. A lot of the high net worth individuals and families, they go to Europe, they go to Asia. I think the Gulf, whether you go to Saudi Arabia or to come to Bahrain, with the nice spirit that you're talking about in Bahrain, you know, okay? So you go to the Raffles with the wildlife and experience, and spend like 1 week there, where you get checked, you get vitamins, the programs, the food. I think this is a great opportunity, and Abu Dhabi did very well. I think and more projects needs to come and supporting, beside, of course, the other typical, not typical, I mean, other luxury attractions like the golfing, the beaches, the shopping, and etc. Yeah.
So there are a lot of different offerings. We were talking about sports, we were talking about medical now, but if we are looking to attract high net worth individuals, Edward, what type, or maybe even collectors, what should we be offering in the GCC in order to attract those?
I think, well-created opportunities with a proper schedule for like a 5-6 day tour of the area with a number of events and significant exhibitions to go and see, great hotels to stay in, great restaurants to eat in. I do think that there's a potential now within the GCC to create something with enough mass to pull people here. And I think before that perhaps wasn't the case. I think when the Museum of Islamic Art first opened in Qatar in 2008, it was a trailblazer, but on its own possibly wasn't enough to make people come here and spend time here. But now I think there's so much here to attract these this very extreme cultural tour, the very valuable group of cultural tourists.
When do you think that happened, the change?
I think it was, if you look at the 2030 plans, the visions that have been set for many of the states, they all have a cultural pillar. And so it's a very conscious decision by the governments of the region to invest heavily in their culture and in the arts generally. Not just in terms of museums, but filmmaking, every aspect of the arts, because it was thought to be a significant contributor to their own society, as well as being something that would attract tourists. And I think we're beginning to see the fruits of that. And Qatar and Abu Dhabi were sort of early onto this. But now there really is, I mean, for people who haven't been focused on this, when I joined the project in Qatar, it was by far the largest arts project in the world, possibly the largest arts project since the Medici in Italy in the 18th century. That's how significant it was. And now, Qatar has been joined at that table by Abu Dhabi, of course, Saudi Arabia now. So the level of investment and the level of interest that's being created by this is huge. And the rest of the world is looking at this thinking, well, this is amazing. I've got a chance now to go and see, the Abu Dhabi Louvre, the Museum of Islamic Art. The opportunities are enormous. And I think the other thing about cultural tourism, going back to the weather, is that it is not seasonal at all.
Okay.
So, when the Formula One takes place here, I'm sure the place is absolutely jammed. 10 days later, probably not so. And whereas cultural tourism, there's a very high level of consistency throughout the year of the tourists visiting.
So when we talk about all these different, let's say, call them verticals of tourism, we spoke about culture, sports, medical also. Now we identified the opportunities. What do you expect from the private sector? You laid the ground, you did the infrastructure. What's next? What do you want the private sector to do? How do you want them to get involved?
Before answering that question, Maya, I just want to circle back to what Hisham mentioned about the collective promotion of the GCC countries. And it's very important for me to mention this because he's going to soon realize that what I'm about to say is going to allow him to meet his KPIs. So one of the things that we did differently in Bahrain when we started promoting Bahrain as a regional and international destination back in 2023, which was part of our tourism strategy, is we began to promote Bahrain as a unified destination with the other GCC countries. And the package deals that Hisham mentioned, we've started during 2023 with the different destination management companies, whether they're in Bahrain or outside of Bahrain. And the great thing about this is that the other destination management companies that we haven't directly dealt with actually realized the amount of revenue that is being generated from those package deals. And what happened is that they began to organically also create those package deals. Yes, we do work very closely with Gulf Air, our national carrier, but we also work very closely with the other national carriers in the Gulf, Emirates, Al-Arabiya, Al-Ittihad, Saudi Airlines. And that's very important because you need to focus also on the other stakeholders within the tourism industry. Going back to your question, Maya, the way we see it in the Kingdom of Bahrain, the government has to make sure that the private sector has the right legislations, the right policies, the right infrastructure for them to actually operate effectively. So by definition, what we're actually saying is the government is the enabler and the private sector is the operator. And when we created the tourism strategy, it was intentional to actually create the 4 A's because we needed to be very transparent. We needed to be very clear on what we are trying to achieve or what we are striving to achieve. And we made it very clear through the verticals, through the different pillars that we have focused on. And I'm glad that during this conversation, I noticed that part of the 7 pillars were actually mentioned. So that just gives you an indication of how transparent we are in terms of identifying what are the gaps. And since we launched the strategy back in 2022, we've seen how the private sector has actually filled in those gaps. Hisham mentioned medical tourism. That's actually one of the pillars of our tourism strategy. And when you enable the private sector to create those projects, it happens organically that they actually create a product that actually serves the government in realizing its key performance indicators.
Thank you. Osama, I'm going to ask you a question. I mean, it's not a forced question when we talk about AI and data analytics because everyone is talking about it, but I mean, that might also have a role in how we look at developing tourism. I mean, when we say tourism and we want to go visit cultural or medical or sports tourism, but then you are faced with data analytics and AI, and where do they fit in the role, whether in tourism, whether we speak about innovation and their support or taking away from it? I mean, I sit in my room and I put on my Oculus, I think, and I can visit anywhere I want. That takes away from the experience. Where do these fit?
Definitely we can. I mean, nobody can today ignore the power of AI and the power of and how this technology is evolving day by day. Now, one advantage of AI today that for the operators, for example, let's give an example of a hotel operator. The AI today allows the hotel operator to predict the demands of the customer, understand that there is a huge data being analyzed in the backstage. That by itself, for example, can allow for or open new opportunities for cross-selling. And if we implement this small example on a bigger space, so across GCC marketing and campaigns and stuff like that. So that would be another area where you can use the AI to your benefit.
Hisham, my question to you on the same line: where does innovation come in helping you achieve your financial goals when it comes to tourism?
I have 2 stories to tell you. One on AI, I bought the Vision Pro, the Apple, which they are disconnecting. I don't know why. Okay,
so you paid $4,000 for nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, but I tried it over the summer, and they have those amazing views of touristic destinations and places. Probably I would not go ever. Okay. But now seeing them, whether in the north or in the ice or in the Asia or in the island, really beautiful. So I see them as more complementing. So now I can go actually and see the Dolman experience that we were talking about this morning. If somebody goes and see it, oh, then I want to go to see it, because now I can translate this amazing experience easier through those devices.
That's optimistic. That's nice.
Yeah, I think it's a great, because think about it. Now, how would you take the decision to go and to travel? You either see a picture or read an article or share an experience. Now you have fourth element, okay, which is a visual reality, which makes you closer to those destinations that you would want to go and experience. So this is one. The other element which I wanted to, those investments, this is where the Gulf comes in, okay? We are a great destination for investment tourism. Everybody throughout the world, they travel to the Gulf to come for fundraising, partnership, from fund managers to banks to all over the place, whether it's FII, whether it's the Gulf Gateway, whether it is Abu Dhabi. So those people are the decision makers, higher spenders, and guess what? When they come, they love the place. This is the first time that you want, and then it repeats. So I think the conversion from promoting as the capital destination in the world now. So people, they come and then they want to hold their next board meeting in Bahrain, or they bring their family to Saudi to experience Riyadh Festival, and so on and forth, yeah.
Edward, I saw the Mona Lisa at the Louvre maybe 23 years ago, and it was an experience I will never forget, just seeing it, standing in front of it. Will this new technology and all this AI take that away from us and take away from the experiences we are talking about, we are trying to provide here in this region?
No, I mean, I think it's going to be additive. And I don't think anything will ever truly replace the impact of standing in front of a work of art like the Mona Lisa. I'm not just being old-fashioned. It's real. If you do it, you can feel it. To replicate that is going to be difficult, no matter how advanced digital technology may take us. But digital technology is an incredible enabler. And I think one of the great challenges, going back to innovation, which is a huge opportunity, I think, for somewhere like Bahrain, is to look at their rich cultural history, but tell that story through the most modern and innovative techniques. Because I think more and more people are getting interested in works of art, exploring museums from their desktops in New York, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the other thing that interests people is new ways, innovative ways of displaying objects and telling stories. And, it's very exciting, from holograms through to, look, AI. I'm sure AI will do something incredible. I don't know what it is, but it will do something incredible. So, if the opportunity to create a high-tech, innovative museum, which is like a store of culture which can be communicated worldwide, is a very interesting thing. And, the more people become aware of the rich heritage of Bahrain, the more people are going to be likely to want to come and visit. So I think it's potentially a huge driver of economic growth here.
So we have a couple of minutes left before we end. Before we have a minute, Your Excellency, I would like to end with you just telling us where you think, if I come to Bahrain today, how should I do my round, and where do you see it in 10 years from today?
The beautiful thing about Bahrain, every time you visit, you'll realize that there's a new tourism offering that is built on an older tourism offering that has been visited previously in the Kingdom of Bahrain. I believe, and I want to tap into the conversations that happened during this panel. I believe that the Kingdom of Bahrain has a great story to tell And that story can be told through tourism. And from the cultural aspect to Bahrain being the only island in the region, from as well as a business tourism hub regionally and internationally, it all connects to how the Kingdom of Bahrain is being currently positioned regionally and internationally as well. I believe the GCC tourism visa that will happen very soon is really going to be a game changer in terms of positioning the kingdom and the other Gulf countries. And I also believe that within the next 10 years, there's going to be a huge spike when it specifically comes to tourism revenue in the Kingdom of Bahrain.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you, Osama, Hisham, and Ed. And thank you, dear audience, for being with us today and joining us with all your energy in this beautiful country to participate in the panel. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.